Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Laces Out podcast. We're talking NFL football from the week gone, and we're going to be talking about, previewing, some would say, the football that's going to come this week. Find out who's winning in the predictions, who's winning in the side bet. Find out if I'm a rich man from the hefty bet that I put on at the weekend. Fivefold accumulator, baby. Oh, yeah. Whew. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Obviously, the best of them all is sharing that podcast. If you've got an NFL fan in your life, send this their way and say, this is the one for you. Check this out. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast. Laces Out.
Well. It's dark outside. That can only mean that it's the depths of autumn. And autumn it's a dark time. It's a very dark time. However, there are things that are put into place to help us through the dark days of autumn, winter, even moving into spring. And one of those things is a sport that is not often played on these shores. It is played on these shores, but it's not often played on these shores. And that sport is the sport of the American style of football. So, I have gathered the finest minds in sports entertainment to bring you a podcast about the American football. They weren't available, so instead, me and Paul were like, we can manage it. We can do this. We can do it. And how wrong we were, because 8 seasons in, we still haven't managed to work it out. But hey, as this week's predictions will definitely show, we absolutely know what we're doing in this podcast. That's right, it's CookieCast Laces Out. I am joined by glamorous doesn't even cover it anymore. I need a new word. I've been thinking about this recently. I need a new descriptive for my co-host, Mr. Paul Williams. He is here. He, keeper of the tone, is something that I feel is a title. And I'm already thinking of a t-shirt. Would throw out some kind of Evil Dead reference, but so rather than getting into movies on an American football podcast, we will talk about the fact that another week of games has gone and another week of games are to come. I believe buys are in effect. How do I know this? Because my already decimated fantasy team is even more decimated by those pesky buys. I decided to cut my losses last week when at game time it was like, oh, by the way, one of your players is out. And I said, oh, that's funny because that's the same as my bench. There is nothing I can do about that. So let's go into the week with -2 because my defense shit the bed. And a player that was out. Anybody think I won the week? And that is enough about fantasy. Probably for the rest of the season, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to lie, I have considered dropping every player I've got to the waiver wires and just walking off. You know, like, everybody can have a free week out of me. However, the optimist I am, I'm definitely bringing it back.
There's always next week, Andrew. There's always
next week to shit the bed. So, Week 5?
Week 5 indeed to go through, and I think Mr. Cook must have known this was coming, as I would need to go back through the book, but I think statistically, this could be our worst performing week ever.
Worst? I knew, because, not to foreshadow anything, because it comes way down the list, but strap yourselves in for a particular segment. It may be a new segment. Strap yourselves in for what has to be one of the worst, possibly ever, but yes, I'll save that. So, take us through. I mean, it's got to be low single digit score for the week. Has to be.
Well, if I open up with the fact that there was 4 teams on the bye, so the Falcons, the Bears, the Packers, and the Steelers won bye. So that took 2 games off the slate. So we were only picking 14 games to start with. If I tell you that the winner this week only got 7 of those 14 games correct,
50%.
That probably tells you all you need to know. We started off the week poorly, picking the Rams to beat the 49ers, and it kind of took a turn from there.
The Rams, you say? Yeah, it's always good to pick up their defense midweek.
Yeah, not ideal. We did redeem some bit on the Sunday early kickoff when we had the Vikings to beat the Browns, and that was only because of a last-minute field goal. So it could have been even worse.
Sure could.
We had the Ravens to beat the Texans. That didn't happen. We had the Dolphins to beat the Panthers. That didn't happen. We had the Colts to beat the Raiders, which did. We had the Cowboys to beat the Jets, which did. We had the Eagles to beat the Broncos, which did not. We had the Cardinals to beat the Titans, which they did not. We had the Buccaneers to beat the Seahawks, which they did. The Lions to beat the Bengals, which they did. The Chargers to beat the Commanders, which they did not. The Bills to beat the Patriots, which they did not. And then we had 2 difference of opinion games. So, whichever way those ones go will determine who wins the week. Saints Giants. I went one way. Mr. Cook went the other. He laughed at me when I said I had the Saints to win this game.
Why is that? Why is that the way that you would go with that? You know.
He's laughing no longer.
I am never laughing.
As the Saints did indeed defeat the Giants. They put me 1 point up, as it were. And then the final game of the week saw the Jaguars taking on the Chiefs, and it was another difference of opinion. Andy went with the Chiefs, sadly, but it was the Jaguars that prevailed with a last-minute, just insanity play from Trevor Lawrence. Have you seen the clip?
It has to be one of the worst ways to win a game. Like the finesse that was missing from that play, the just utter shit show that was that final play. To then say that it took them to a win, there should be criminal charges brought against that play.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
You need to look for 2 videos on this one. The first is a perspective from the stand where you can actually see the play going on in the background, but it's also a split screen so you can see it fully from the sort of the main camera perspective. But it's focusing on a guy who is stood in the crowd who sees Trevor Lawrence fall over and then just goes, turns around after he's like sort of like been like fully sort of pissed off and sees that he's now scrambled to the end zone and just gives it one of these. That was hilarious. There's also a video where someone has put up a caption of "Fair play to Chris Jones for not just giving up on this play when it mattered the most," and it's just Chris Jones going sort of like left when the ball is snapped, and then just like walking towards Trevor Lawrence as slow as he possibly can. Yes, had he put any sort of effort into that play, I think the Chiefs would have won that game. And because of that, that has robbed Mr. Cook of a half point in this week's standings. So I take the win this week, 7 points from a possible 14. Andy was only able to get 5 from a possible 14. So that gives me the win, puts me 4-1 up in the standings, moves Andy to 50 from a possible 78, and myself to 52 from a possible 78 so far this season. Side bet wise, you might want to strap yourself in. You had the Colts to beat the Raiders. That's 1 point.
That's it.
But then you had the Bills to beat the Patriots, the Eagles to beat the Broncos, and the Chiefs to beat the Pats.
No, Jesus. I knew this week was going to be an absolute, like watching the games on Sunday, watching, sometimes I have to do like a game in 40, or if I'm trying to like cram for, it's almost like cramming for a test. If I have to cram for the podcast, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'll grab the highlights of this, so, you know, etc., etc., etc. As the weekend and start of the week unfolded, I was like, this is gonna be abysmal as far as points are concerned. Yeah.
So that moves Andy on to 12 from a possible 20. My side bet was slightly better. I had the Cardinals to beat the Titans, which wasn't great for me. But I did have the Lions to beat the Bengals, the Vikings to beat the Browns. I also had the Ravens to beat the Texans, and that was not pretty. I mean, from a side bet perspective, yeah, gutted. But from a hating the Ravens perspective, it was just a thing of beauty to see.
Yeah, I mean, I was sat in the living room like, I know one man who's going to be rejoicing at this moment. I like literally, I had pictures of you dancing round your living room, throwing birds everywhere, like, you know,
just
amazing dance routine going on.
Just get it hooked to the veins. So that moves me to 15 from a possible 20. And that just leaves our bankers and outsiders bet that I believe was on to net us about 20-ish pounds. We had the bankers that we had. Sorry, well, I'll go with the outsiders because we had the Buccaneers to beat the Seahawks and the Texans to beat the Ravens, Mr. Cook. Well done. 2 very good outsiders picked there. I had picked the Colts to beat the Raiders as my banker, and I can't quite believe it that we didn't win the bet this season on this particular week because the Eagles couldn't see off the Broncos at home.
I was feeling good for a moment there. I was like, yeah, we've got this one in the bag. Sweet.
Incredibly disappointing.
Cash money. Yeah. Here we go.
Sadly, there is no cash money in the pot. So we will move to week 6 to see if we can get that pot increased somewhat. But before we go into week 6, bets-wise, we need to...
Pot of money, you say?
Oh, no.
There are currently no bets to display. Okay. I said I would reveal a kept tight-lipped on this one. So follow along. I placed my remaining 50p, and I was due a £2.50 return on a 5-fold accumulator because the Philadelphia. I will say this one: the Detroit Lions. Apparently, that was an inspired choice. However, what's this here? The Buffalo Bills. And for 5, the Kansas City Chiefs. I was not allowed to reuse 3 of my 5 selections because 4 pence is below the minimum for a bet. And it's a good job because the 3 I would have reused were the 3 games that 2 of them won. Yeah, as far as my betting account is concerned, I have bankrupted myself and will not be able to financially recover.
It's a truly harrowing thing to hear. Before we move on to week 6 and predictions for week 6, we do have some delicious datage to go through for week 5.
Absolutely the case. I sent out it's not the bat signal, is it? It's the stat signal earlier in the week. And what was returned to me earlier today were many stats. Now, I have delivered the lion's share of the stats to Mr. Williams. And I've got a couple of. Well, there's certainly one is a monster, that's for sure. These are NFL Week 5, 2025. Credit to USA Today, only to USA Today. However, in our house, the credit goes to the stats ministry. Number 1. Speaking of number 1, so who is number 1? Contender to win the Super Bowl. After the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles lost their first game of the season Sunday, a few hours before the previously unbeaten Buffalo Bills also went down. It seems like an unusually large field at the moment, given the number of questions that abound around the league. Number 2, Philly has now suffered 2 losses over the last 365 days. The Eagles obviously remain a bona fide championship threat, yet they also have issues to redress, particularly on offense. Wide receiver A.J. Brown had another quiet game, 5 catches for 43 yards Sunday, and even running back Saquon Barkley undermined Philadelphia. On a day when he rushed for 30 yards on a mere 6 carries, Barkley also committed an illegal shift infraction that nullified a 4th down conversion in the 4th quarter and forced the team to punt on its penultimate possession. I would say one thing I did notice from the weekend was a lot of penalties. A lot of penalties. I did highlight that a lot of them seemed to happen in a particular game. I said, I imagine the referees thought, we've been carrying these fuckers for 2 seasons. It's time to run it back. And my word, did they give the Chiefs some stick. Number 3, the Bills also remain right there. Though the New England Patriots win on Sunday night was a clear announcement that the AFC East probably won't be a walkover for a change. Yeah, there's a lot up in the air at the moment. Number 4, the Denver Broncos now have 3 wins and beat the Eagles on Sunday for their first win in Philadelphia since this guy was 6. 1986. That's 2 impressive victories in 6 days for Denver, which added 6 more sacks to what was already a league-leading total of 15 entering Week 5. And with quarterback Bo Nix belatedly settling into his second season, the Broncos look like a team that could make a deep run. Number 5. 4 2024 first-team All-Pros, including quarterback Lamar Jackson, were inactive Sunday for the spiraling Baltimore Ravens. I didn't even need to look. Who were crushed 44-10 at home by the Houston Texans, now 1-4. Their Super Bowl aspirations in serious crisis. The Ravens faced the Rams in Week 6 before reaching a badly needed bye week. Speaking of bye, they're playing the Rams. My final stats, I believe. Indianapolis Colts scored 5 red zone tutties in their 46 beatdown of the Las Vegas Raiders. Still feels like a stretch to consider Indy a bona fide championship contender, but a 4-1 squad is increasingly taking on the look of a potential division titleist. And yes, the AFC South counts. A small note on that. I personally am very much enjoying Colts football at the moment. I think that they've had their ups, they've had their downs. Some seasons you can absolutely guarantee them to be one of the worst teams. And other seasons you're like, the Colts seem to be in the picture, if not too firmly sometimes. Obviously, the days of Andrew Luck are kind of gone at this point in time. And, taking it further back, we could talk about a variety of other people who've played there. But I am liking Colts football.
Well, not only that, if you think about it, they're like an end zone fuck up away from being undefeated technically this season.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. So who knows? It wouldn't be the first time that the New York Giants have let a player go that they're deemed to be no longer good enough, and it comes back to bite them severely in the bottom. Oh, excuse me. I will continue once I've stopped, choking to death. The Bucks aren't blowing anyone out. All 4 of their victories occurring on game-winning scores in the final minute of regulation, something no team has ever done on the way to its first 4 victories. The perennial NFC South champs remain a resilient bunch that can beat you in a variety of ways. Carolina Panthers running back Rico Dowdle rushed for a league-wide season-high 206 yards in relief of injured starter Chuba Hubbard in his team's 27-24 defeat of the Miami Dolphins on Sunday. The Cowboys didn't re-sign Dowdle, who rushed for nearly 1,100 yards last year, and no other team saw fit to offer him even $3 million for 2025, although he could eclipse that figure by reaching certain escalators with the Panthers. Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson had 123 receiving yards in Sunday's defeat of the Cleveland Browns in London. Now with 7,881 in his career, third most by a player in his first 6 seasons, and he still has 12 games to play in a bid to overtake Randy Moss's standard 8,375 yards over a half dozen years. The Los Angeles Chargers wide receiver Keenan Allen making his 159th career appearance, hauling his 1,000th career catch. 8 games quicker than Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison, who previously set the standard for speed for that benchmark. The Chargers' defeat came courtesy of the Washington Commanders, who had quarterback Jane Daniels back in the lineup. Yet the emergence of rookie running back Ja'Cory Bill Krosky Merritt, who had a career day on Sunday, 5 games into his career anyway, with 150 yards and 2 touchdowns from scrimmage. Could he be the key to return the Commanders to the league's elite ranks to the degree they ever really left? Detroit got touchdowns on Sunday from running backs Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, the 14th time both scored in the same game, tying Emmitt Smith and Darryl Johnston for the most games amongst running back teammates, each scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl era. That is since 1966, of course, whenever we say Super Bowl era. And finally, for me, and us, no less, the Los Angeles Rams didn't win on Thursday, but wide receiver Puka Nacua caught 10 balls, giving him 52 receptions for the season, the most ever by a player after 5 games. Nacua bypassed his former teammate Cooper Kupp, who had 49 grabs at the same point in 2022. That is the start. All done for week 5. So, week 6 approaching rapidly, and it brings with it 15 games as the Houston Texans and the Minnesota Vikings find themselves on the bye this week. I've written my predictions down. Andy has not written his predictions down, but he has sent them to me, and I have written them down in my little book. Let's go through them. The Thursday Night Football sees the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to New York to take on the Giants. And as I always say on weeks like this, because myself and Mr. Cook haven't suffered traumatic brain injuries, we have both gone for the Eagles to get the win. Next up, we move to Sunday, and we have yet another London game, and it is the Denver Broncos taking on the New York Jets. So technically, 2 New York home games. One of them just taking place in the UK. The Jets, obviously the only winless team left in the NFL, and myself and Mr. Cook think it will remain that way as we have the Broncos to get the win. We move to the Sunday 6 p.m. games, and we have the Los Angeles Rams at the Baltimore Ravens. We've both taken the Rams. The Cowboys at the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, Rico Dowdle going up against his former club. If Chuba Hubbard's not fit, although if you've just run for 200 yards and you don't play the next game, your head coach is a bit of a wanker. Myself and Mr. Cook have both gone for the Cowboys. Next up, we have the Cardinals at the Indianapolis Colts. We've both taken the Colts. We have the Seahawks at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we've both taken the Jaguars. We have the Chargers at the Miami Dolphins. And we've both taken the Chargers. The Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. AFC North divisional rivalry. We've both taken the Steelers. We have the New England Patriots at the New Orleans Saints. And we've both taken the Patriots. I'll skip this next one, and we'll come back to it. We have the so we move into the 9-9-25 slate of games. There's only 3. We have the San Francisco 49ers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We've both backed the Bucs. We have the Cincinnati Bengals and their recently acquired quarterback Joe Flacco at the Green Bay Packers. We've taken the Packers. The Sunday Night Football sees the Detroit Lions at the Kansas City Chiefs. And surprise, surprise, we've both backed the Lions. Chiefs could fall to 2-4. Outrageous. And then the Monday Night Football, they've done it again. They've put a double bill on Monday night. We have the Buffalo Bills at the Atlanta Falcons. We've both taken the Bills. And the Chicago Bears at the Washington Commanders. And we've both taken the Washington Commanders. This is a game I left out in the 9 o'clock slate. And
That's to be our only difference of opinion, I'm guessing.
That is correct, Mr. Cook. It is our only difference of opinion, and it is the Tennessee Titans at the Las Vegas Raiders. One of us has picked one way. One of us has picked the other. Mr. Cook has gone with the home team Raiders. I've gone with the Titans, Mainly because I think the Raiders are a bit of a dumpster fire at the moment. Don't really know what's going on. I think
They,
Geno Smith is in the league in picks.
yeah, they are. I just, I just felt like I could the Titans.
Don't get me wrong. When I looked at it and saw that basically my entire week is riding on the Titans, it made me take a bit of a double take. I'm not gonna lie, but I also wouldn't feel that confident if I was backing the Raiders to get me the win this week. So
Nope.
that is, in fact, I would go so far as to say potentially a sort of a 50-50 shot on the pick'ems, maybe 60-40 in favour of the Raiders.
I'll check.
That'd be my guess
I'll check in a
anyway.
minute when we go through. I'll let you know what the pick'em says.
So, like I said, that's basically what's going to decide it is that game because we have picked exactly the
Wow.
same. Other than the Titans Raiders game, so it's the Titans Raiders that will settle it. That just leaves us our side bets to pick and to go through the bankers and outsiders. So, do you want to have a little reset?
Well,
little
this is
break?
empty, and
No, I mean,
that is not how I roll. So let's step away momentarily, step back with charged glasses and recharged energies, and we will deliver the finest side bet action. Yep, you don't need to go anywhere. We probably won't go that far, but we will be back in literally a second. 2 ticks. And just like that, they return from the abyss, known as getting more juice. So, couple of, is that just water? Just, it's not gin.
Is it? I was going to say, is it better to say yes? It's just water as opposed to just like tequila or vodka?
Yes,
or
it's
something
water. I don't have a crippling alcohol addiction.
Imagine trying to sort of like get down that quantity.
Oh God!
One in one. Well, like not one.
I'm hoping it's moonshine. You just get progressively more wild with your picks.
There's absolutely no moonshine at this IP address, Andrew, and I thank you for keeping it that way. So
I don't think it's legal for us. I thought it was just illegal for them.
it definitely isn't because like, all the time on York Market when it comes to Christmas, there's always them people out selling them bottles of moonshine in there. So
Paul's there like, I'm feeling frisky. Let's go with the Jets this week. I'm like, So, speaking of picking stuff, we have some business to take care of. We've got the side bet, the side action, the side Ike, the side boob, and a little bit of monetary business to take care of. So, I can only imagine it's my go first, as I imagine it'll be my go first for the rest of the season, because, well, sure.
you're only 3 points behind.
Only 3 points is a lifetime in this game.
Less than a week. Less than a week's result.
For me, I lost 3 points last week.
I will just say at this point, in the last 2 weeks, you've gone 2-8. So
I mean, that's fucking shocking. So, speaking of absolutely getting humped, I will take what is on my screen as the first game of the week, as I will take the Philadelphia Eagles to decimate the New York Giants. So, get your house on a Giants win, people.
I mean, you say it, like, but I mean, like, if there's ever like a safe bet, I mean, like, I'm now.
I don't know if there's anything that's a safe bet at the moment.
Do you know what? It's unusual for me and you to go off on a tangent. But I'm now just wanting to look at this one to see like what the point spread is. Let's have a look. Eagles Giants. What is the point spread? So the current match handicap that you're getting is Eagles minus 7.5. So basically the bookies think that the Eagles win this by a touchdown plus. So
I've got the Eagles down to win this by a 40 burger, so there's a little bit of a difference there.
Well, if you want that, Eagles minus 40 or Eagles minus 30 something. So the highest you can go is Eagles minus 32.5.
I'll have a pound. Go.
And you get 16 to 1 on it. So not the worst I've ever heard. You can also, if you have suffered a traumatic brain injury, you can take the Giants minus 14.5 for the same price. So by Sky Bet's recollection, they think that the Giants are going to win by more than 2 touchdowns for that bet to come in.
I don't want to highlight that the Eagles are coming off the back of their first loss of the season, and need to assert some dominance. And the New York Giants are absolutely the team. The only way they would be better off is if they were playing the Jets this week. The 0-5 Jets rather than the 1-4 Giants. Yes, so stick me down for an Eagles win as my first pick of the week, please.
Very nice. So my deck 2.
Who's
right? Well, I mean, it's right there. They're coming off the back of a bye, so they're refreshed. And obviously, with who the team they're going up against have just signed as the fucking Stone Age pony under centre, I'm absolutely taking the Green Bay Packers to put a whooping on the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not gonna lie, very tempted to take the Rams at the Ravens, but as it stands, Lamar Jackson is still only questionable for the game. If Lamar doesn't play, there is absolutely no way the Ravens win that game. If he plays, there's always a...
Now, my argument on this one is 2 things. One, the coaching staff, the whatever you want to call them, medical team, health staff, whatever, will be absolutely doing everything they can to get Lamar back fit and ready to play, because if he doesn't play, the Ravens lose this week. That's basically the run over at this point. I saw the current standings for the MVP race. People were losing their minds on some of the names that were on there, because Patrick Mahomes was second on the list, and they were like, why? But obviously Lamar is still in that picture, which is just baffling in itself.
Well, the only thing with that is, say, like, let's say he doesn't play this weekend, the Ravens lose. They'll go to 1-5, I think. Let me just double check that, because so far they've only beaten the Browns.
Yeah, they will go to 1-5 if they lose this week.
Yes, they lost against the Bills. They beat the Browns. They lost against the Lions. They lost against the Chiefs, and they lost against the Texans. Yeah, so if they lose, so let's say they lose this, they'll drop to 1-5. But I think they're on the bye next week.
Yeah, it was saying that they need to eke through this game to get to the bye, which are a much needed bye.
Let's say they go into the bye 1-5. Have that 2 weeks. They get to week 8, and Lamar's fit and healthy. If he then runs the board and gets them to a 12-5 season, and they go into the postseason, he 100% wins MVP.
Yes, but that would be a hell of a run. I'd love to see the 11 teams they're going to have to beat to get to that.
Well, bear in mind, in that stretch, they'd have to play the Steelers and, well, I was going to say the Steelers and Bengals twice, but obviously the Bengals are going to be nothing, although that is probably the two games that Flacco's going to be playing out of his mind because he'll want to put a bit of a whooping on them and stuff like that. I don't know who the other teams are that they've got to play in that stretch, but the fact that they've got to play the Steelers twice would be the only thing that would make me think they're probably not getting 11 wins. So we'll wait and see. Speaking of the Steelers, I have taken the Steelers to beat the Cleveland Browns as my second side bet pick of the week. Let's back over to you for your next two.
Because of recent events, there's a part of me that's a little bit like I want to get crazy and just pick some absolute randoms. But then there's that part of me that thinks that that's very silly to do that. So I'm not touching that game. Give me a little slice of Buffalo Bills to beat Atlanta Falcons, please. That could be a good choice there. That could fit a criteria because it is a little loosey when there is a few other options. That game there being one of them. Okay, I'm going to throw caution to the wind on this because this will depend where you go next. So, and I want this to go down in history as a moment. I would say the Washington Commanders to beat the Chicago Bears. Now, not necessarily the most obvious when you have a couple of other games, which I will not allude to just yet, but possibly a safe, comfortable pick, let's say. But let's see what happens in the next two rounds. Go.
Not going to lie, were two of the games that I'd considered. But I will take the Cowboys to beat the Panthers.
Fair.
And I think I have to do it. I think I have to take the Broncos to beat the Jets.
I was hoping to sneak that one out from under you. I left it there. I was like, I should take that next because it's the most obvious one to take. But I was maybe going to see if I could bait you into leaving it on the table. However, it wasn't.
I think personally, for me, at this point, there's only one real game that stands out as the sort of the one to take.
Are you talking about the Los Angeles Chargers?
I am not. But that one is also possibly a safe pick.
Are you talking about the Indianapolis Colts?
Maybe.
They are both on the screen. The way it falls on Pick'ems, they are the two games that are currently on the screen right now. So coin toss could come into effect. Let me put it like this. This is where I need Stuart Woodmansey here to answer for his team's actions because the Chargers have fucked me twice this season. And I'm not going to lie, they didn't buy me dinner either time. And, didn't get a call afterwards either. So, as I have said earlier, in this very podcast, I am very much enjoying watching and being around Indianapolis Colts football. I will double down on that statement, and I'll take the Indianapolis Colts to beat the Arizona Cardinals, please. 4-1, 2-3. Did you see the argy bargy on the sidelines I don't want to be the guy that talks about employment laws because I know that our country versus other countries, especially a particular country, employment laws are very different. But assaulting one of your staff members probably is not good luck in any way, shape, or form. So there's a possibility that there's a bit of a fire going on in Arizona, but the Cardinals. So tune in next week where I'm like, the Cardinals, the Colts fucked me. The Chargers will absolutely destroy the Dolphins and many other things. I have to make the tough decision whether to throw bad money after worse money and top up the old betting account and pick up some of these absolute bankers for my weekly bets. Or maybe see if there was a way to incorporate for anybody that just tunes in for the NFL podcast. This is not the only podcast we do as a collective. We also like to dabble in other sports events. One of them being the current upcoming wrestling pay-per-view, as it will always be in this house, but I believe they are referred to as premium live events these days. I wondered if I could get some kind of like tenfold accumulator which rolls up all of the rest into the NFL and make a weekend of just getting absolutely shafted by the bookies. So, speaking of betting, I believe we are not done with our business. And business is actual money in this case. So, talk to me about how much money we're winning this week.
So, for those new, this is our section of the podcast where myself and Mr. Cook each pick a banker and an outsider. So, a team that is less favoured with the bookies, batch them up together to make a fourfold, stick a pound on it, we see how we get on. So, this week's picks, Andy's banker, he has taken the Buffalo Bills to beat the Atlanta Falcons on one of the Monday Night Football. That is the earlier of the two. I don't know if that means it's the designated game or not. I don't think it does. I think it's the later one that kicks off that's normally given the full beans, the full treatment. The Joe Buck, Troy Aikman story, as it were. So, Andy's banker, the Buffalo Bills. My banker, the Buffalo Bills 2-5 to beat the Atlanta Falcons. My banker was the Dallas Cowboys away at the Carolina Panthers. And I got the Dallas Cowboys at 1-2 was my odds. That obviously rolls over. Now, our outsiders that have been picked. I'll just refer back to Andy's first pick in the side bet, where he took the Philadelphia Eagles. Whereas Andy's outsider this week, he's obviously hedged his bets, ladies and gentlemen, because he has taken the 10-3 New York Giants.
You know it, baby.
In the Thursday Night Football. So our bet could very well be done by Friday morning. So I'll bet that might not even get to Sunday. Andy's taken the New York Giants 10-3. My outsider, and it's obviously a very poignant one for me because it is the one that will settle this week's main week predictions. I have taken the 2-1 Tennessee Titans as an outsider to beat the Las Vegas Raiders. So all that totted up together, pound stake will return us 26.3-1 odds.
Nice.
So we're on to make £27.30 from that particular £1 bet. Should those 4 results come in?
To answer a earlier question, the Pickums had the Raiders at 77%.
Tried to close the book. Tried to make it look swish. dropped it on the floor. The book.
I feel you have already tarnished your new moniker of keeper of the tome by chucking it across the room. So
No. You can edit that in post yet.
I absolutely know how to do those things. I can barely edit the stuff that I do at the moment. It's a challenge week in week.
Seamless transition to me closing the book on this week's.
AI will sort it out. Every time I join this, it tells me that AI is there to help out, for a price.
I long for a time when I log into a social media account and I don't see an AI of, what was the latest one I'd seen? Bruce Forsyth walking his way to a WWE ring.
Bob Ross.
Yeah,
Bob Ross. Wolverine was earlier today. That was terrible. So yes, AI is making the world better. By the way, I don't know if you heard, just not in any way, shape, or form. That's good. But look on the bright side; they've started teaching robots martial arts.
There is absolutely no way that can end badly.
Hi, is that James Cameron? What do you mean you told us so? I don't get it. Neither does Paul. So there we go. All of the business has been taken care of. This is a small piece of business known as many games to play. We will be returning next week to talk about those games and talk about how we can't pick any of them for shit. Tune in, tune out. That's the way we look at these things. Tune out the negative, tune in the amazing football. Try not to watch any of the adverts that apparently don't happen. I will join my glamorous co-host. I will take your opportunity to thank my glamorous co-host for keeping the book in check, for bringing us finest in all the different things that we go through each week. Check out our other podcasts available. There are many. Football, we do the round ball, we do the weird shaped ball, we do the wrestling. There is a pay-per-view premium live event this weekend. Check it out. New guest on the wrestling. We have a Formula One podcast, which I am about to go and code and get uploaded for you. The season's kind of starting to get to that back end. The races are ramping up. Many a race this month and next month to get the season finished up. And then once a week, I just talk and talk at length, many lengths of the swimming pool worth of talking into a microphone for people to wildly ignore, as it should be. So if you want to get involved, you can send us your predictions. What that does is that enters you into the competition where you will just get something sent to your house just by sending us your predictions. We will send you an NFL related gift. If you beat us, which this week is going to be tough, but it's not doable. Okay, if you draw with us this week, I will send you what could be considered the finest NFL-related gift you could possibly wish for. And it's free. Free, ladies and gents. I am in charge of the posting. That is it for this week. The week 5 is in the rear view. The week 6 is coming over the hill. I'll be there, getting it in through the eyeballs, into the soul. And hopefully you will be there too. Join us next week. I would say we'll maybe get a guest. I already know the answer. Until then, enjoy your games, enjoy your week, and we will catch you next time. Tatty buys.
So there you go, what do you think to that? Another week of games gone. Another week of games to look forward to. All right here. We have prepared you as best we can. We've predicted as best we can. All that's left to do is to watch those games and find out how many we got wrong. Yeah. If you want a shot at getting in on the predictions, drop us a line. Jump over to thecookiecast.com, click that email button, put in all the teams you think are going to win this week, and if you do that and click the send, we will send you a prize. NFL-related prize. If you beat us, we'll send you a super prize. Yeah, that's true. Before you leave us, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Leave a comment where you can leave a comment. Just leave a little part of yourself on the podcast. Right. Enjoy the games and I will see you next time.
Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode of CookieCast, please like, share and subscribe.